talk about sex. Have you thought about getting another job? College regrets. How to build a strong community of women around yourself. How to get over painful sex. How do you handle comparison-negativity on social media? How do you deal with initiating as a wife? How do you handle finances and saving money? Do you and Sam ever turn each other down for sex? Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a Q&A. I feel like we've got lots of fun things to discuss and some things to address. Whenever I was getting ready this morning, it was a beautiful sunny day, and then all of a sudden it just got so dark. So I'm sorry if it looks really odd. The lighting is just really off, so I feel like the light above me is just making everything really orange. We'll see if I can fix that while editing. If not, we're just gonna call this a cozy Q&A. Per usual, I asked you on my Instagram if you guys had any questions for me, and you guys came through. I've got a lot of questions here to answer. I'm just gonna go ahead and warn you, I feel like there were a lot of questions about sex. So I feel like this is gonna be a little bit more juicy, a little bit more spicy. Let's start off with a lighthearted one. It says, if you could only choose 3 drinks that were stocked in your fridge at all times, which ones would you choose? If I had to choose refrigerated drinks, I love the Poppy strawberry lemonade and the Olipop strawberry vanilla flavor. Is that what it's called? And then maybe like a LaCroix limoncello, however you say that one. Those are like the 3 drinks I actually get excited about drinking. Everything else I don't really care. I feel like I'm not really into many other drinks. Let's talk about this. So my last video, I talked about how I took a pregnancy test, and because I was sick, I was throwing up, and I was like, am I pregnant? So I took a pregnancy test, and I don't know, I maybe should go back and watch the video. Like, did I not clarify that it was definitely a negative test? I don't know. Everyone's like, what were the test results? Guys, they were definitely negative. I would not put something on the internet, like if it was positive, I wouldn't have put that out there because I wouldn't want to share that yet, if that makes sense. So I'm so sorry if I was confusing, but it was definitely a negative test result. What I was sick from was the babies in the nursery that me and my friend got sick from. So the test results were very negative. I really love this question. How to maintain good sibling relationships as adults. I love the relationship that I have with my siblings. I think it's very good, very healthy. And I think the best way to maintain it is to, I guess, we really respect each other as individuals. I know that my brothers don't look at me as like their baby sister, and I know I don't look at my brothers as like my mean older brothers like I used to. I feel like we've grown a lot in mutual respect for each other, and we just like genuinely have fun together. Like, they are some of my best friends. So I don't really know how you cultivate that if that like chemistry isn't there, but I do think a lot of it has come out of like, we are really honest with each other and real with each other, and we care so much about the other one that we're willing to talk about things and work through things and really hear each other out, which I really love. So, because it's inevitable that like problems are going to arise, but I think it's how you handle those problems that really make or break a relationship. And we're just like all best friends, which is like the best part of it all. How do you balance business-work with wife responsibilities? And then she also asked, have fights arisen from this? Yeah, I'm sure fights have arisen from that, especially from me. So I feel like I've talked about this on here before, but like, I had expectations that I would handle work and all the home responsibilities and all these things. Like, I was like, I can do it. And then I realized I can't do it. And so just like clearly communicating to Sam how I felt like he could help me, and he's more than willing to help. Absolutely. Like, in the beginning, I actually told him not to help me because I thought I could do it all. And I wanted to do it all, but then I realized that that's just not like possible in this season of my life right now. So I feel like I try my best to balance it, but it is really tough. Like, I feel like sometimes I just have to be okay if I don't have time to make dinner and we have to go grab Chipotle or something. And I feel like it's easy for me to feel like a failure because I also just like hate eating out throughout the week. Like, I would prefer to just like, I'd rather cook at home, but sometimes I just don't have time for that. Just a few weeks ago, I asked Sam if he could go to the grocery store for me, which was hard for me because I just don't like giving up my responsibilities. I feel like I want to tell myself that I can do it all. Like, I have an amazing husband who's willing to help. I feel like we have really worked out like home responsibilities, and Sam carries a lot of that weight too. Like, it's not just me. I think it's just finding your rhythm and figuring out what works best for you and your relationship, and not being afraid to ask for help. I think that's a big one. Somebody asked, how do you handle comparison-negativity on social media? I saw a ton of questions about comparison. Someone else said how to be content and fight comparison and all these things. And I feel like this is great timing, just because right now my small group is actually going through a book. It's called The Envy of Eve, and it talks all about discontentment and comparison and things like that. I'll link it down below, but envy is essentially comparison. Like, you're desiring something that somebody else has that you don't. What I've been learning is that envy is rooted in unbelief that God will not take care of you, and that He does not have in mind what is best for you. So whenever we want something, we would say, no, that would be good for us to have. But if it's not given to us, then that is not what God would define as good for you to have. It may not be never. It may just not be in the season, or whatever it may be. It could be that you don't need a home right now and you need to keep renting, or it could be that, or that God has you single in this season for a specific reason, or that God has you in this area of your life for a specific reason, and we believe that it would be best if we had something else, which is not true. And so I think just figuring out like the root of your unbelief and looking throughout scripture for God's character, and you will find that what you're believing is so not true. Practically speaking, like, if you really struggle with comparing, especially on social media, then get off social media. I think it's really that simple. I feel like I've got a hair on my chin. I do believe it's gotten harder because now things on social media pop up that like are people that you don't even follow now with the new algorithm of like reels, like with home pages and things like that. So if you need to unfollow people, then unfollow people. And if you need to go to like the following only page, then do that. Like, the Bible is so clear about if your right arm causes you to sin, cut it off. Meaning that like, go to extreme measures to be holy and to help yourself. And if that means not having social media for a time or maybe ever, then that's what you need to do. As hard as that might sound, I think you'll find that you have a lot more freedom in life if you do that. I think we all struggle with comparison to some degree, and I know it can be hard. So I think it's really important to find the root of the lie that you're believing there, and also maybe cut out specific things in your life that are causing you to stumble into that. Someone asked how to decorate a house on a budget. So I actually thought it'd be fun to do a video of like everything I've thrifted in my house, because I have gotten so many amazing deals for our furniture and so many things. So my tip to you would be, if you find something online that you really, really like, then see if you can find it on Facebook Marketplace first, or go to a thrift store and see if you can find something similar. And then if you can't, then I would wait for that certain product or thing to go on sale, which I know can be frustrating, especially if you're like just looking for furniture. But those are my biggest tips. Wow, it is really, really raining. Do you hear that? That is like extra cozy. Somebody asked, how do you handle finances and saving money? I always get questions about like, do we have a budget? We don't live like month to month on a budget, but I will say that every purchase that we make, we are consciously thinking about like, do we need to spend that? If I'm going grocery shopping, I am always trying to figure out like, okay, what's on sale and what's the best way I can save the most amount of money. And I would say that we lean pretty frugal with those things. So we are just always frugal minded, and I think that really pays off. Today, I really wanted to go out and get a coffee, and I just told myself, I don't need that. And so I think for us, that works really well. It's also just hard for us to budget because my income is so sporadic. So we just have found that that works best for us, and we really work hard to try and save as much as we can, because we have multiple different things that we're saving for, whether it's travel or our next home down payment. So that kind of goes into the next question. And somebody asked, how do you save up for vacations? We generally talk about, okay, what trips do we want to take? We actually created a new checking account where each month, if we have money left over from like expenses than our regular savings, then we'll put some money in our travel fund. And that has been very helpful for us. One of our credit cards is a Delta card because we live in Atlanta. That's like the Delta hub. So we usually always use points for flights. We rarely ever pay for a flight. And then we have another credit card that's like for hotels, so we'll use that. Like in New York, we had multiple free nights stay and we had free flights. Okay, somebody asked, what advice would you give to people who are nervous about marriage but also very excited? I would say that you don't need to feel bad that you feel nervous. Like, that's a very normal feeling that I feel like nobody talks about. And I'm glad that you're also very excited. You should be very excited. I would just say prepare as much as you can, but also understand that you can't fully be prepared. And so like live in that middle space of like read books and talk to married people and learn from their mistakes, but also understand that your relationship is going to be fully its own and you're gonna have to navigate it as it comes. I think the biggest thing is always invite people into your marriage, your community, people around you that you trust to walk through the things that you're walking through with your spouse. Let's talk about sex, since there were a lot of questions about that. So the first one is, how do you deal with initiating as a wife? And then it had a little sparkle. I do think it's important to initiate. I think a great way to do it is to put forethought into it, like maybe buy a new bra or a lingerie piece just to kind of spice it up. Like add some change to it without them knowing it so that it feels more spontaneous and like you desire it and that it's special beyond just like, it's just so easy to get into a rhythm. So I think kind of changing it up and trying new fun things is a great way to do it. So the next question was, do you and Sam ever turn each other down for sex? How often is it? I don't know, maybe TMI. That's funny. So yes, we definitely turn each other down for sex, and that's very normal. And I definitely feel like we both feel comfortable enough to do that. But I will say there are often times where I don't feel like it, but I will still put my feelings aside because I love my husband and I want to please him. I never ever have regretted having sex. Like, I've never looked back and gone, man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. And oftentimes I look back and go, wow, I didn't realize I needed that. Marriage is just a lot of give and take. Sometimes you really just don't feel up for it, and that's okay. And other times, you know, you don't feel up for it, but you're like, yeah, I could do this, and it will also be okay. I think it's just really important that you guys have good communication. That is the biggest thing. Whenever it comes to intimacy, if you guys do not communicate about where you're at, how you're feeling, and if you feel like you're in a lull, then try and go back and think through like, okay, when we weren't in a lull, what kind of like brought us out of that? Like, what specific things did we have going on, or were we doing that kind of helped with that? Maybe you guys just need to cuddle more, or maybe you need quality time and you need to go on a date because you feel emotionally disconnected, so therefore the physical intimacy is going to be disconnected. So I think there just really needs to be a clear line of communication and healthy communication to be able to talk those things through. Okay, another sex question. How to get over painful sex at the beginning. Just got married and it stinks. Let me tell you, that is so normal and common. And I'm so sorry. I know exactly how that feels. I had a very similar experience, we'll say. And it can feel really frustrating. You can start to feel like you're broken and like something's not working, something's not right. And then it can cause you to want to hide from your spouse. I think it's so important to communicate and tell them how you're feeling. This is what works, this is what doesn't. And I do want to say, if there's somewhat of a prolonged period of time that it's still happening, I think I would definitely go to an OBGYN. And let me tell you, I'm speaking from personal experience, do not let them tell you, just have a glass of wine. I think I had to go to 5 different doctors before I actually got any help in this area. And I've had friends that have had similar experiences. Really common thing, not to like diagnose you or that I'm a doctor or anything, really common thing that a lot of women have, and that's very normal. I've had this, my friends have had this, is pelvic floor dysfunction. So if you can find a pelvic floor physical therapist around you and maybe talk to your OB about that, but I would definitely go to a doctor if it's been, I don't know, more than a month, month and a half. So many women experience this, and it is normal, but it's also not how it's supposed to be. So there's definitely so many things that can be done to help with this. But also just think about that you and your husband have your whole lives together to figure this out. What do you and Sam mostly argue over? And that's a really good question. I feel like we argue the most over the way that we do things. Like, we're both just very strong-willed. So I feel like our arguments come at like different ways that we would approach things, and neither of us want to give up on what we think. And I feel like that's usually most of our arguments. Someone said, favorite thing about living in Atlanta, definitely the food scene. I love the restaurants we have here. There's always something new to try, always something super unique. And I feel like we have a lot of different ethnicities here, so you get like real authentic food and it's amazing. Have you thought about getting another job? I really have. I don't really know if I want to do social media forever, especially with like if we ever have kids. I don't know if I'd want to do vlogging around them. Actually, I'm pretty positive I don't. So I don't know how I would balance my job now or if I would go into like a different platform. But yeah, I really don't know. If I wasn't doing YouTube at all, like I would love to do some sort of coordinating. I'd love to be like a wedding planner or a wedding coordinator or like an event coordinator. Or I'd love to do something with like design or own a coffee shop, or I don't know. I have so many aspirations towards things that I could do, but who knows what I'll be doing in 5 years, because I sure do not. Sorry guys, my camera died, but in better news, the lighting's better. I literally just went and started the pasta sauce for dinner, so hopefully I don't have any on me. Okay, this is a fun question. It says, college regrets. I think my biggest college regret is that I wasn't as in the moment as looking back I wish I would have been. And I feel like a lot of girls will relate to this, but I'm the kind of person, like I'm always looking forward to the next stage. If I'm single, I'm looking forward to being dating. If I'm dating, I'm looking forward to marriage. If I'm married, I'm looking forward to kids. Like I'm always thinking that the next stage will be better rather than like being appreciative and thankful for the stage that I'm in. And don't get me wrong, like I loved college and I was aware that I loved college and I loved living with my best friends and we had the best time. And so it's not like I was oblivious to that, but I do think I was in a weird position of like longing to be with Sam since we were doing long distance, and also like longing to be home because I miss my family, but also longing to be with my roommates. And I felt like my heart was in a million places, which was really hard. And I almost wish that there were certain things that I did to like help me just enjoy where I was with my best friends. Like what I would do to have one more night in that house and like all of us spend the night together. Have everybody come over, watch our show, cook dessert, eat dinner together. Like, I miss it. I'll make this the last question. I think it's a really good one. It says, how to build a strong community of women around yourself. I'm having a hard time with this. It is hard, and I've been in Atlanta for over 2 years now, and I feel like I am finally at the point of where I do feel like I have strong community in my life where people will speak into my life and that know me. But I think it's so important to stay patient, but also understand it takes work. Like community doesn't just happen, like it is forged. Like you have to work at relationships. Now I think that if you're involved in a church, a great way to do that is by getting plugged into small groups. And I think that it's really important to be real and vulnerable. I think it's really hard to have community if you're not truly yourself, not worrying about, you know, putting on the best face and being the best whatever. It's like, no, like this is real life. Like real life, I am messing up all the time. I am constantly having to apologize and I am saying the wrong things. Just being honest and crying with your friends and going, this is really hard and I don't know what to do. I think is so important. And I think that you have to take a step in vulnerability if you want those relationships to truly be deep. Guys, Teddy is so big. Come here. He's not allowed on the bed, but unless we invite him up. Oh, that's so sweet. Do you see how cute he is? That's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram if you want to be included in the next Q&A. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.